What if the earliest signs of dementia weren't about forgetting names or getting lost? What if they were hidden in your mood, how you walk, or how you answer questions? Shockingly, 60% of those with dementia miss the first signs completely, and these early clues often show up 20 years before diagnosis. Stay tuned to discover 11 signs you might be ignoring every day, some of which could raise your risk of dementia and even heart failure by over 50% if ignored. Let's dive in. 1. Impulsive behavior or poor judgment. The first sign is subtle, impulsive behavior or poor judgment. Have you ever given a huge tip at a restaurant without thinking or spent money on unnecessary items? At first, it seems harmless, but the brain may be showing early signs of damage. The frontal lobes, responsible for decision-making, can deteriorate with dementia, leading to these lapses. A study found that those who showed poor financial judgment were 72% more likely to develop dementia later. If you notice a pattern, this could be a red flag for early brain changes. 2. Withdrawing from social activities. Next, we have social withdrawal. If you used to love chatting with friends or attending events, but now find yourself staying home more often, it could be linked to dementia. The brain's ability to process emotions, recognize faces, and follow conversations starts to decline, making social interactions frustrating. As a result, many people with early dementia begin avoiding social gatherings. A 2021 study found that social isolation was one of the most significant early predictors of dementia. So, if you or someone you know is suddenly withdrawing, pay attention. 3. Changes in vision or depth perception. Changes in vision and depth perception can be an early sign of dementia. If you find yourself bumping into furniture more often, misjudging distances, or struggling to park, it might not just be aging. Your brain's ability to process visual data could be declining. This is because regions of the brain responsible for spatial awareness, like the occipital and parietal lobes, can degrade early on. A 2019 study showed that people with visuospatial issues had a 65% higher chance of developing dementia, so frequent visual glitches could be an early warning sign. 4. Difficulty completing familiar tasks. Have you noticed that familiar tasks, like following a recipe or driving to the store, have become more difficult? This could be a sign that your brain is losing its ability to sequence and organize activities. Dementia doesn't just affect memory, it also impacts how we execute daily tasks. A 2022 study showed that difficulty completing multi-step tasks increased the risk of dementia by 53% over 2 years. If you're struggling with tasks that used to be second nature, this could be a critical early indicator of cognitive decline. 5. Language problems or word-finding difficulty. Another early sign is difficulty with language. If you've ever struggled to find the right word or substituted simple words in a conversation, like saying the thing instead of refrigerator, you might be dealing with early cognitive decline. Then this is often linked to damage in the brain's language centers, particularly in the left temporal lobe. A 2018 study found that people with word-finding issues were nearly 3 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's. So, if this is becoming more frequent, it might not just be forgetfulness, it could be a sign of dementia. 6. Increased anxiety or restlessness. Feeling more anxious or restless than usual could also signal dementia. Early brain changes often affect the areas responsible for managing fear and emotional response. As a result, everyday situations that used to feel normal, like going to the store or being around others, may start to trigger overwhelming emotions. A 2020 study found that new onset anxiety, when paired with mild memory lapses, significantly raised the risk of Alzheimer's. If you notice unexplained anxiety growing over time, it's time to take notice. 7. Trouble understanding visual information or reading. Trouble processing what you see, even when your eyesight is fine, could be another clue. If you've started rereading sentences or struggling to interpret road signs or diagrams, it might not just be a focus issue. It could be a sign of dementia. Early damage in the posterior cortex can make it hard for your brain to interpret visual information. A large-scale 2021 study showed that those with reading or comprehension issues had a 49% higher chance of developing dementia in the next 4 years. If reading or focusing becomes more challenging, it could be a neurological issue. 8. Neglecting personal hygiene or appearance. Neglecting your personal hygiene could also be an early warning sign. If you used to take pride in your appearance, but now find yourself forgetting to shower, brush your teeth, or wear clean clothes, it might not be laziness. It's the brain struggling with executive functions. A 2017 study found that 83% of early dementia patients started showing signs of grooming neglect within the first year. If someone you love is neglecting basic hygiene, it could be a sign their brain is losing its ability to initiate these automatic routines. 9. Repeating yourself in conversation. Repetition in conversation is another subtle sign of dementia. If you've noticed yourself repeating stories or asking the same questions without realizing it, this could be an early indicator of memory issues. This repetition stems from damage to the hippocampus, the part of the brain that stores and retrieves short-term memories. A 2018 study found that people who repeated themselves in conversations were 5 times more likely to receive a dementia diagnosis within 2 years. If you or someone you know is repeating stories more often, it's time to pay attention. 10. Losing track of time, dates, or seasons. Losing track of time, whether it's forgetting the day, confusing the months, or dressing for the wrong season, may seem like simple forgetfulness, but it could signal deeper cognitive issues. This kind of confusion happens when the brain's temporal navigation system starts to fail. The posterior cingulate cortex, which helps us track time and order events, begins to degrade, making it hard to keep track of the present, past, and future. It's not just about distraction. A 2020 study found that people who frequently experienced time disorientation were 62% more likely to develop moderate dementia within 18 months. If you find yourself regularly confused about the day or the time of year, or feel like hours have passed when it's only been minutes, it's a warning sign. Ignoring this could allow early cognitive decline to go unnoticed. 11. Subtle changes in walking or gait disturbance. The most overlooked early sign of dementia is changes in walking. If you've noticed that your steps have become slower, your stride shorter, or you're dragging your feet more, it could be a sign of early brain changes affecting motor control. Dementia affects areas of the brain responsible for coordination and movement, like the cerebellum and basal ganglia. A 2021 study showed that those with changes in gait were twice as likely to develop dementia. Even more alarming, gait issues were also linked to heart failure, raising the risk by 57%. If you or someone you love has experienced any of these signs, it's time to take action. For more helpful tips on brain health, hit like, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.